Every year there are hundreds of anime released, and with so many to choose from, that means some real gems can unfortunately slip through the cracks. There is no anime, in my opinion, more slept on than Kingdom. Kingdom is quite frankly a masterpiece in terms of writing, with both the story and characters being some of the best I've ever seen. Yasuhisa Hara, the author and illustrator of Kingdom, is very clearly a very intelligent man. Not just through his ability to create deep and interesting characters, but through his ability to also create so many battles with a variety of tactics being employed by the characters. It's not easy to create good characters, it's even harder to create good characters that also come across as genuinely intelligent, yet he's able to do so. Every victory feels earned, and at no point did I feel like a character pulled some winning tactic out of their arse. On top of all this, Kingdom is also based on a true story, while loosely based on truth, as Kingdom is a fictionalised account of the Warring States period. For those like me who hadn't heard of this before, the Warring States period was an era in ancient Chinese history defined by tons of warfare, bureaucratic and military reform, and political consolidation. This period apparently lasted for approximately 300 years, although the exact length of time isn't truly known. So obviously, not a great time to be alive. And this awful period was only ended by the wars of conquest that saw Qin annex all the other states and found the Qin dynasty. Now we see this Warring States period primarily through the eyes of two characters, Shin and Sei. Shin is a war orphan and servant. Most of the anime follows this character as we watch him fight in many battles and wars as he tries to attain his goal of becoming the greatest general under the heavens. And when we're not following Shin on the battlefield, we're following Sei, the 31st king of the state of Qin. And these parts of the anime are just as engaging as the action spectacle of the battlefield, as we watch the conniving and backstabbing politics going on behind the scenes. It honestly reminded me of Game of Thrones a little, which is what everyone says when a TV show is able to make politics and political moves interesting to watch. Like Shin says a dream, the unification of China for the first time in 500 years. And what's interesting is seeing how these two characters' journeys and dreams end up intertwining. Whilst the Kingdom anime may not be the biggest of hits or even that well known in the West, it is luckily very popular in Japan. I mean, it does have 5 seasons that make up 142 episodes, so clearly it's popular enough over there to keep getting renewed. And I'm very hopeful that they announce season 6 very soon, since the next arc is one of the most popular, if not the most popular arc in the manga. There are even 3 live action films based on the manga, and all 3 of them are co-written by Yasuhisa Hara himself, so I'd actually be interested to hear how well those films have been received. Now you might be thinking to yourself, if the Kingdom anime is so good and has so many episodes and the manga is so popular and well received, then why isn't the anime a big hit here in the West? Vinland Saga is a historical seinen series that is also loosely based on truth, and whilst it's not the biggest anime around, it's certainly very popular here in the West. It's arguably more popular here than it is in Japan, so why hasn't Kingdom received that same level of recognition? Well, it's because the animation in the first season is genuinely awful.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
No, your eyes are not deceiving you. That is some CGI that could rival even Berserk's notoriously bad adaptation. Studio Pierrot is a great but inconsistent studio. They've made some truly iconic anime like Yu Yu Hakusho, Naruto, Bleach and Black Clover. And Bleach Thousand Year Blood War, in my opinion, is the pinnacle of what this studio has achieved in terms of animation. Kingdom Season 1 is the complete opposite of that. I don't know the exact reason why they decided to use CGI for Season 1, and after looking into it, I couldn't find a reliable reason either. I have heard that Kingdom Season 1 had a very small budget, which honestly, I believe. There's also the fact that Season 1 of Kingdom is 38 episodes long, so they really had to stretch that budget. It's not just the fact that they used CGI for Kingdom in Season 1 that's the issue, it's the fact that throughout the season, they switched between this CGI and actually pretty good 2D animation. Sometimes you'll literally have scenes where one shot is CGI, then it cuts to another shot that's 2D, then back to CGI, then back to 2D, and then it keeps doing that. It's so frustrating because whenever we get entire scenes, or in some cases entire episodes where it's completely 2D, literally the entire 4th episode of the first season was 2D animation, the anime becomes significantly better. I know, shocking. but the bad CGI really brings down every other element of the show. The soundtrack, the sound effects, and even the voice acting all come across noticeably worse during the CGI sections. I even found some of the Japanese voice acting to be quite bad during some of these sections, and that is shocking to me. Not just because Japanese voice acting is incredible and arguably the best and most consistent in the world, but also because the voice cast for Kingdom is stacked. This is a real who's who of a cast, and I will be talking a lot more positively about the voice acting and certain voice actors later in the video. But in this first season, they're really shortchanged by the bad CGI. It's not just the CGI that holds back the first season, although that is inarguably the main thing holding it back, but also the censorship. Now, censorship in anime is extremely common. Almost every anime is less gory, less violent, and less revealing than the manga it's based on. Even an extremely well received anime like Vinland Saga also faced censorship. But the censorship in Kingdom Season 1 is on another level. Whilst there aren't any black balls or streams of light covering anything, at least from what I remember, there is a lot of white blood. This type of censorship combined with the horrendous CGI really robs a lot of the battles in Season 1 of their weight, and it results in character deaths and all the carnage in battle feeling hollow. When a blade cuts through someone, you can't even tell if they've died or not, because you would think they would die, but sometimes characters walk off what should be a fatal injury. So when these sword slashes have no weight to them, it really robs the scenes of their impact. Basically, the hits in this show feel like they should be way more brutal than they actually are. Now, for some people, 142 episodes, and hopefully counting, may be too much, even with the majority of those episodes being really good. With the first 38 episodes of that 142 being bad CGI, you can see why not a lot of people have watched this anime, and why it doesn't get recommended so much. This is absolutely one of those shows where you have to wait for X episode before the show gets good. And if you're the type of person who can't put up with that, then sadly, this isn't the show for you. And you know what? That's totally fair. You shouldn't have to wait for the show to get good, especially this show. The story in the first season is good. It's not your fault that the anime really fumbled its first season, and you're under no obligation to put up with that, especially when the manga exists. I'm the type of person who can sit through either mediocrity or just genuine shit to get to the good stuff later, and even I struggled with Kingdom's first season, especially the first few episodes. The CGI is almost unwatchable at times in my opinion, and part of me really did want to stop watching. But this anime does legitimately get so much better, and is currently what I consider to be one of the best anime that I've ever seen. A massive turnaround from how I felt about the first season. Plus, here's a tip to help you through the first season. There might be a lot of episodes in the first season, but almost every episode begins with a recap and then an intro setting up the anime, and then the anime's opening. If you skip all of that, then you end up shaving off 3 to 4 minutes of each episode. And even though the CGI is bad in this series, the final few episodes of Season 1 are still incredible. A real testament to how strong the narrative of this anime is, that it could even overcome the CGI dragging it down. Fortunately, someone behind the scenes took notice of the appalled reactions to Kingdom's animation, and they decided to forego the CGI for Season 2. Well, for the most part. They still use bad CGI for things like armies and the occasional things here and there, but the CGI in Season 2 feels more like how CGI is often used in most other anime, and is not the main animation used. 95% of Season 2 is lovely 2D animation, and that's actually very impressive to me considering Season 2 was 39 episodes long, one longer than Season 1. There is, in my opinion, a massive jump in quality between Season 1 and Season 2. Whilst the animation changes one thing, it may also be due to the director changing for the anime too. Now, some people say you need to get past both Seasons 1 and Season 2 for the anime to get good, but I completely disagree. The only reasons as to why I think you would say that is because you either read the manga beforehand, which looks beautiful by the way, or because you absolutely hate CGI and the little bits of it in Season 2 are still too much for you. But either way, no matter your stance on Kingdom's use of CGI and its animation quality, everyone agrees that things really get kicked up a notch when you get to Season 3.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
There was an undeniable jump in quality between Seasons 1 and 2, and there's an even bigger jump in quality between Seasons 2 and 3. There are a couple reasons for that. First, the animation was no longer exclusively done by Studio Pierrot. From season 3 onwards, the animation for Kingdom was done by both Studio Pierrot and Studio Signpost. If you haven't heard of Studio Signpost, then you need not be alarmed because they aren't a very famous studio and they haven't made that many anime. In fact, half the anime they've made so far have been seasons of Kingdom. The other anime they've made have some quite poor reviews. Like they've made an anime called Oda Cinnamon Nobunaga and another anime called My Clueless First Friend. So if any of you have seen either of those anime, then please let me know if they're worth watching and what your thoughts on them are. The second reason why the animation is so much better in season 3 is because of time. Kingdom Season 1 aired in 2012 and finished in 2013, and Kingdom Season 2 started in 2013 and finished in 2014. Kingdom Season 3 aired in 2020, that's a 6-year gap, and in 6 years both animation and the CGI used in anime has improved a lot, and you can see that in Kingdom Season 3. There is still a little bit of CGI still in Kingdom, but it is used even more sparingly than it was in Season 2. And the CGI is significantly better too. There's also been another director change between season 2 and 3, so that probably helped things. It has been so interesting to watch as Kingdom went from receiving a Berserk 2016 level adaptation to a Vinland Saga level adaptation. And with that, I think I can finally stop talking about the animation in Kingdom. This is by far the most I've ever spoken about an anime's animation, which really shows you the rollercoaster I was put on watching this anime. But with that said, how about we talk about this anime's characters. Like I said earlier, the story and characters in this anime are fantastic, strong enough to even prop up this series during its CGI days. Now before I dive into this incredible cast of characters, I want to just discuss a strange issue with this series. It's about the characters' names. Apparently there are 2 versions of each character's names. So since Kingdom is set in China, every character has a Chinese name. But the manga is also Japanese, and apparently there is a way to read Chinese words in Japanese, so in the manga all the characters had Japanese names even though the real life counterparts to the characters had Chinese names. And in the anime they also used the Japanese names, but depending on the subtitles you see, you'll either see the names in Japanese or Chinese. The point is, every character has 2 different names except for Shin. His name is just spelt slightly differently. For the sake of this video and considering the version of the anime I saw, I believe I'll be using the characters' Japanese names. Hopefully that's okay with everyone. With that out of the way, let's start with Shin. Shin is an incredible lead character, and the more the series progresses, the more I love this character. One of my favourite aspects of Kingdom is the passage of time. We watch as many characters, including Shin, grow up and age over the course of the series, and I loved watching him mature and grow in strength in this series. Shin desires to be the greatest general in the entire world. Now Kingdom presents us with 2 types of generals. There's the clever kind who win their battles with tactics, and then there's the kind of general who relies on their guts and instinct to guide them through a battle. It is very clear which type of general Shin will end up being because he's as dumb as a rock, and I love that aspect of his character. 1, purely for humour, sometimes Shin's stupidity leads to the occasional funny moment, and 2, because it means that everything needs to be explained to Shin. He doesn't understand the tactics and can't come up with his own, so other characters need to tell him exactly what's happening, which results in exposition in this series feeling very natural. So if Shin isn't smart, why do people flock to him and want to follow his lead in this series? First of all, Shin is strong. Even at the start of the series when Shin is still a kid, it's clear that he is strong and a good fighter. As the size of the army he commands grows bigger and his rank grows more important, Shin becomes even stronger and even better of a fighter. This means that he's able to easily boost his army's morale by leading by example. He, someone younger than all of them, is able to lead the charge and push through the strongest of enemies. He energizes them and pushes them to their furthest limits. It helps that Shin is so loud and boisterous. His voice carries throughout the battlefield and he's easily able to command his troops. It's not just Shin who's able to rally the troops, but many of the other generals too. I love whenever Kingdom employs a really commanding speech to get the troops going.
Come on, man, are we doing this or not?
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Are we doing it or not?
No.
What's gonna happen? What's wrong with you people?
I'm on the same page.
What's the point of even being alive if we can't do this?
Right.
If Shin was an RPG character, then whilst he may not have put any points into intelligence, he certainly put a lot of points into strength, just enough points into charisma, and a truckload of points into luck. It's not just the fact that Shin is able to survive so many situations that could very easily result in his death, It's also the fact that Shin has the remarkable superpower of bumping into every major character in this series, both friend and foe alike. Shin could literally be peeing at a urinal, and the big bad of Kingdom could walk in and start peeing at the urinal next to him. It is astounding how often Shin just bumps into a major character. But I like that it always results in Shin's character developing and always creates a new interesting relationship in the series. However, there was one scene that really solidified to me how great of a character Shin is. It's a scene near the end of season 5, so very mild spoilers. Me telling you about this scene will not ruin the anime at all, but you might not want to know about it, so if that's how you feel, then do skip to this timestamp. This is the best way that I could describe season 5 of Kingdom.
Are we the baddies?
In war, there are no good guys, just winners and losers. Kingdom demonstrates that so well. However, season 5 was the first time where I felt okay with our team losing. Throughout Kingdom, we've seen many generals, and one of the most memorable is Kanki. It was always obvious that Kanki was a bad guy, what with his penchant for chaos and destroying his enemies in the worst way possible. But there was always something cool about him too. You hated that you loved him, and you enjoyed seeing him on screen. Season 5 really shattered that cool image of him that I had, and instead I now view him as vile and detestable. However, the scene that truly made me love Shin is not the scene where he stands up to Kanki, but the scene where he is in the tent with BiSH. BiSH had done a wife swap with Kanki's group, and through their influence, had taken something that once belonged to a civilian that had been killed. This had angered Shin so much that he literally kicked BiSH out of the group. After that, BiSH regrets his actions and stands up for Shin when a bunch of Kanki's men mock him, which leads to them beating him to near death. Recovering in a tent, Shin pays BiSH a visit. BiSH goes to plead for forgiveness, but Shin cuts him off and instead tells a story. He tells BiSH of how he stole food from a civilian house. He was only the commander of 300 men at the time, and he was near death and starving. He found a lone house completely abandoned, and inside was a bunch of mouldy food. But when he ate it, it was delicious, and it allowed him to carry on the fight. Some months later, Shin came across another house, except this time he was fit as a fiddle, and this time the food was fresh. Except when Shin ate it, it tasted awful. And he thought to himself, well, that makes sense. We first saw Shin as a child in this series, and he's had the same goal ever since he was that boy. When he dreamed of being a general, he never thought about all the negatives like the murder and rape and stealing. He knows it's a little childish, but he wants to hold on to that dream for as long as he can and make it a reality. Not just for himself, but for Hyo too. That's why he was so angry with BiSH, and that's why he wants his unit to never give in to their temptations. This scene really solidifies Shin as not just a great character, but a great leader too. Because it's not just BiSH who hears Shin's words, but the entire camp too, who all, like BiSH, start crying upon hearing Shin's story. They would clearly follow Shin to the ends of the earth. And a lot of the impact of that scene is due to Naruto Masakazu's brilliant performance as Shin. Shin is often very loud, yet here he is quiet and reflective. He's not using big words, but is recounting a simple story to give BiSH a simple message. Naruto Masakazu was actually one of the reasons why I was so interested in watching Kingdom, as he's most famous for voicing Ichigo in Bleach, and I love Bleach and I love Ichigo. So I'm very happy to say that he gave an amazing performance as Shin throughout the entire series. I do find it a little funny to think that whenever Shin and Kanki talk to each other, it's basically Ichigo arguing with Renji. But regardless, it was a great scene and really showcased how great of a leader Shin is. Plus I love the reason that Naki gives for transferring from Kanki's unit to Shin's. Brilliant. Shin was a truly great protagonist, but he's not the only great character in this series. There's also Sei, the 31st King of Shin. He may not get as much screen time as Shin, but he's still an excellent character. It's clear to both the viewer and the other characters in the series that Sei is a 1 in every 1,000 years king. Kingdom loves its visual metaphors of making characters huge to show their strength and power. With Sei, they instead show how warm he is and surrounded with bright lights to make him seem almost heavenly. Shin may be the brawns, but Sei is certainly the brains. His game of cat and mouse with Ryo Ten to see who will be the ruler of Chin is exhilarating to watch, and I love how Sei is constantly able to win more and more people over to his side through just his words and presence. Sei is a kind, intelligent and very brave man, and it is fascinating and uplifting to see how far he has come from his very dark origins.
What's wrong with me? Why can't I feel?
Like Morita Masakazu with Shin, Sei is propped up by an amazing performance from Jun Fukuyama. Jun Fukuyama is a fantastic voice actor, best known for his performance as Lelouch in Code Geass. He provides an equally powerful performance as Sei. While Shin has no blood-related family outside the Haishin unit, the closest person who would come to family is Ryo Ten. She lives with Shin when they are both young and then ends up as his group's tactician, making up for the lack of brains in Shin's group. The passage of time is clearer in no character than Ten. Watching her grow up from basically the comic relief in the first season to a genuinely intelligent three-dimensional character is a joy to behold, and watching as she grapples with the morality of war and her own actions and maturing quickly as a result of it gives her some wonderful development, and Ri Kugamiya gave one of the strongest performances in the entire anime. Her voice matures alongside the character and she perfectly sells the transition in her character. Also, since I did it with the other voice actors, Ri Kugamiya is best known for voicing the likes of Happy in Fairy Tail, Alphonse Elric in Full Metal Alchemist, Kagura in Gintama, and Tiger in Toradora. Rounding out the main cast is Kyou Kai. In terms of raw fighting ability and strength, Kyou Kai may even surpass Shin, which makes her a great pick as his second in command. Kyou Kai might be the most entertaining character to watch fight in this series with her distinct dance that she uses to dispatch of enemies. What I love about Kyou Kai is that personality wise, she's the complete opposite of Shin. She is quiet, often keeping to herself, whereas Shin will often intermingle with everyone. It's how he keeps bumping into everyone. It's not that type of story, but there are things that are less believable than Shin bumping into God whilst he's on his way to get a Big Mac. Like Shin and Sei, Kyou Kai has a name in the story, except it is far less grand and noble than either Shin's or Sei's, and far more short term too. Kyou Kai wishes to get revenge for her sister's murder, and that is all that guides her in this series until she meets Shin and helps build the Haishin unit with him. Her revenge is still her main focus, but she finds something to look forward to after the revenge, and that is to be by Shin's side and become a great general alongside him. Plus, I love that Kyou Kai's secluded upbringing has made her very innocent to certain things. I get the impression that that's another thing that Shin will help her out with. Also, it's another big voice actor playing a character in Kingdom. This time it's Yoko Hikasa, who is probably best known for voicing Rias Grumry in High School DxD and Atom in Pluto. She feels like a perfect fit for Kyou Kai, as she perfectly brings out Kyou Kai's reserved nature while showing her innocence too, even in her commanding moments. She's a brilliant character and I really do hope that we get to see a lot more of her in future seasons. Kingdom has a very large cast, too large for me to cover in this video, but even though I've covered the main 4 characters, there are a few supporting characters that I'd like to mention. Let's start with Oki. Oki is Chin's last remaining great general. He's a larger than life character and also a character that initially you're unsure of as to whether they are a friend or a foe. Oki seems to only do what Oki wants to do, and he can because he's an extremely strong general. But as the series progresses, we learn a lot more about Oki. He is slowly humanised and we see him become an extremely strong influence on Shin and how Shin views what a general should be. Also, there is no plot twist or reveal more shocking in this series than discovering that Oki is into women. That blew my mind. Also, for some reason, Oki does this really weird laugh. It goes like this. Cool. I don't know why he does it, but he does, and it always pulled me out of the moment. But aside from that, Oki was a fantastic character, and one of my favourite not just in the series, but anime in general. Then there's Riboku, who is the closest thing that Kingdom has to a main antagonist, and he's a great character too. From the moment he was revealed, Riboku has cast a large shadow over the anime. He is frighteningly clever, and undeniably the greatest thing preventing Shin from unifying the Middle Kingdom. However, this is war, and he never feels as evil as a character like Kanki, or a character as self-serving as Ro Fury. He just seems to be a strong person who happens to be playing on the other side. In fact, I actually found him to be quite likeable, which just goes to prove how charismatic he is and how he's able to command so many people. It really helps that he's voiced by the go-to villain voice actor, Toshiyuki Morikawa. This man has voiced so many anime villains, and he was a perfect choice for Riboku. What with his calming voice and ability to show off Riboku's determination. Shin and Riboku have each other in their sights, and I look forward to seeing the inevitable climax that occurs when the two finally clash. Shin is not the only character with aspirations of being a great general. In Season 2 we're introduced to his 2 biggest rivals, Mou Ten and Oh Hon, both of whom are polar opposites. Mou Ten is quite girly and seemingly carefree. He gets along very well with Shin, and is always able to lighten the mood with a joke here and there. Yet his cheery demeanour hides his great intelligence. and whilst he may not have the mammoth strength of his father and grandfather, he certainly has acquired their cunningness. Oh Hon, on the other hand, doesn't seem to like either Shin or Mou Ten, but definitely not Shin in particular. Oh Hon takes every situation very seriously and has spent his entire life honing his ability with a spear to better take down his enemies. And on top of that, he's very intelligent. He's able to come up with great tactics that lead his troops to victory. Both characters really add a lot to the series, as you want to see them persevere and prosper, but you're also more concerned for their well-being than Shin's. This is an anime unafraid to kill off characters, especially as some of those characters actually existed in real life and died during some of these battles. But like any show with a trigger finger, you also know that certain characters are safe. And obviously Shin is making it through these battles, but by having characters like Mou Ten and Oh Hon in danger, it makes the situations more tense as they don't have the exact same safety net that Shin does. Just like its main characters, Kingdom side characters are fantastic too. Before I wrap up this quite long video, let's discuss the music in this anime. Firstly, the openings are all good. Kingdom has some of the most consistent anime openings out there, though that shouldn't be a surprise as this is a Studio Pierrot anime, and Studio Pierrot anime always seem to get good openings. If I had to pick a favourite, then it would have to be either of the openings that played during Season 3. Both of these openings by BiSH were amazing and always got me in the mood for the oncoming episode. It's not just the openings but the endings too. Some of them are fantastic, and certain Kingdom fans would even argue that the ending songs are stronger than the opening songs. Lastly, I did enjoy the soundtrack to this anime, at least after Season 1. The soundtrack in Season 1 I don't think is bad. It's just that the CGI is dragging it down, because I had no issues with Season 2's soundtrack, which was composed by the same person, Minako Seki, who's probably best known for doing Black Clover's soundtrack. But from Season 3 onwards, the soundtrack was composed by Kota Yamamoto and Hiroyuki Sawano. I don't think I need to spell out any further how good the soundtrack for Kingdom is after saying that. Kingdom is a masterpiece, a genuine hidden gem. Its last 3 seasons are all quite high up on my anime list top 100 highest rated anime, and the first, and especially second season, don't have bad scores either. And on IMDb, the anime has a score of 8.6 and even has an episode with a score of 9.8. I don't think I need to tell you that most shows don't get episodes with scores that high. Kingdom has some of the best writing I've ever seen and has a sense of scale and world building unlike any other anime that I've seen. Its characters and story will stick with you, and its music will too. The voice acting is of equally high calibre, and had its animation been as strong as it is in the last few seasons, then this genuinely could have been my favourite anime ever. But for now, it will have to settle for 3rd place. Although that could definitely change if Season 6 is as strong of an arc as manga readers are promising. But anyway, this was just my thoughts on the Kingdom anime. What are yours? Do you like the Kingdom anime? Have you seen it? Were you able to get past the 1st season? Or was the CGI too strong for you? And also, who's your favourite character in the anime? And are you hoping that we won't have to wait too long for Season 6? Let me know the answers to all those questions as well as your general thoughts down in the comments below, and whilst you're down there, do be sure to hit the like button. It significantly boosts this video in the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you're feeling especially generous, then do consider subscribing too please. I'm hoping to hit 1000 subscribers before the end of the year, and it is looking very doable. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this video, I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.